I have an easy tuna spaghetti recipe that is coming up. If you've not heard of it and you think, sounds a little fishy, trust me, it's delicious. If you have had it before, I'm gonna show you how to take it from average to exceptional. And watch to the end because I have an Italian dating tip as well. That's all coming up on the Last Minute Cook. Hi, I'm Deborah. You're watching the Last Minute Cook, where I share delicious recipes that are quick so that you can make dinner at the last minute and feel good about what you're serving. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Ring the little bell so that you're notified of my episodes as they're posted. And if you like this video, let me know by clicking that little thumbs up. Okay, we're gonna get started with our easy tuna spaghetti recipe. Now, maybe you've heard of tuna spaghetti, maybe you haven't. First time I thought of it, heard of it, I was like, I don't know about this, tuna and spaghetti put together. This has been one of my family favorite recipes for over a decade. We love it. It's one of my go-tos when I really just don't have anything in the pantry except for some canned tuna and some pasta. This is so easy, so quick, and so good. So very simple ingredient list. We're going to be using some tuna. We are going to be using spaghetti pasta, although you can use any pasta that you like. And we're going to be throwing in some capers and a little bit of olive oil, but really that's it. So easy, but there is a little bit to this recipe to make sure that it's really flavorful and that that tuna really tastes good. So follow me. This is a quick one. Totally delicious. We want to get our water nice and hot before we put in our pasta because we want that pasta to be ready to cook. And this is an 11-minute spaghetti. I usually cook it down about 10 minutes. It's an al dente style because it will continue to cook when you're tossing it in the hot pan. So go about a minute shorter than what your package calls for on your pasta. And just make sure you've got a nice boil and salt your water before your pasta is put in so that the pasta can be nicely flavored. And this is where patience is what's going to determine how delicious and yummy this pasta dish is. You can really feel the love in it when you give it some patience. If you try to rush this dish, this is such an easy thing. It's just, we're gonna do the tuna with a little bit of oil. If you try to rush that tuna, it's gonna kind of be a little bland for you. So we're gonna really give some love to this tuna. We're gonna cook it down, and we're gonna add oil as much as needed because we're gonna see that as this is cooking, the tuna really drinks up the oil, which is good because we're gonna get some good flavors from it. And I know somebody out there is gonna be like, oh my gosh, don't put that fork in that nonstick pan. I have really some habits that are not the best, but I promise I won't scratch it. Well, maybe I'll scratch it a little bit. I think this may be one of my pans that you can't really scratch. So while we're getting the heat going, I'm just gonna start adding my olive oil. Now, I wish I had some actual measurements for you here, but I just add a couple of tablespoons at first, then we start to cook it down, and if it wants some more, we'll add some more. So I'll show you that as we go. I'm gonna check on the spaghetti and make sure it's not sticking. You wanna give it a stir every once in a while. Okay, so it's taking a minute. We want that water or juice to kind of cook up and let the oil absorb into the tuna. And we will also be adding some salt, which I guess I can add some now, but we'll need to add this a few times because the tuna really needs some salt. So we'll just kind of baby this with the oil as it starts to cook down. I wanted to show you the capers. In the regular grocery aisle, you usually find them in these smaller size, unless you have a really cool Italian grocery like we do around our neighborhood, and you can find them in these big sizes, and I just keep them on hand. They last so long. And if you like capers, I have other videos with capers, like my pork chop pizzaiola, so make sure and check that out. We use a lot of capers, so definitely try them. In this dish, of course, you can make it without them, but it just adds a good little bit of flavor to this tuna. Really, they go well together, the capers and the tuna. If your oil starts popping at you a little bit, just turn down the heat, because we're not trying to rush the tuna, you really can't just throw it on high. You want to just let it cook down. Let it bring in that oil. Let it all do what it needs to do. Okay, there's our timer for the pasta. And get it drained right away. And we are not going to rinse it or anything like that. We're just going to drain it. And we're going to let it sit while we're waiting for the tuna to finish cooking down. But to prevent it from sticking, we're going to add just a little bit of oil. Whoop, the top's already off of there. Add just a little bit of oil and give it a little bit of a stir. Otherwise it becomes, you see the steam? Get a facial. Otherwise it becomes really stuck together. So just give it a little stir while it's hot, and then just set that aside and wait for our tuna to finish up. Okay, so when it starts kind of popping at you like that, we're going to add a little bit more oil and just give it a stir. That when you stir it, it kind of calms it down. But even here, you're seeing the tuna is starting to get a little darker and starting to cook down, but we're still not where we want to be just yet. So I'm going to add a little bit more oil. With this tuna, when you think it's done, give it like 2 more minutes. Still not ready. I've tried to speed it up and serve it when it was like at this stage, and it's just not quite there. And you can see also that it's starting to break up the longer it cooks. As it cooks down, the pieces break up. In Italian, the word for tuna is tonno. So this would be tonno con spaghetti, or spaghetti con tonno. I guess that would be how you would say it. Anyway, it sounds much prettier than tuna. Tonno. It's just pretty. Yeah. So at this stage, we're almost where we want to be. So I will add a little bit of capers. I just wait towards the end to add them. Just however many you like. We like a lot. And it'll pop because that cold liquid that's going in there will cause that oil to pop. So, but yeah, woo! Little firework action. So be careful with that. But no, we like a lot of capers. Our family motto is pretty much, too much capers said no one ever. So we love them. They go with so many dishes. Even on salad. I like to put capers on Caesar salad, on like the pork chop pizzaiola that I've shared with y'all a minute ago, that we have that video, on this recipe, on even just if you're serving fish, just not this style, but like regular fish, just throw that on there. It's so good. So now you can see the tuna is a lot darker. It's cooked way down, and it's easily broken up with my spoon like this. So this is pretty much where we want to be. I've got the skillet turned up nice and warm. Oh, it's starting to pop. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. You can use a splatter screen if you have that, but I'm going to put the pasta right on here, and it's going to cool it off. So, but this I wanted to show you is where you want to be. The tuna has had plenty of time to get dark, to cook down, and you can add a little bit of oil, and then we're going to put that pasta right in. So we'll just move the tuna aside a little bit to expose some of your hot surface there, because we're going to put the pasta right in there and have it finish cooking in that hot skillet. I used about 15 ounces, 3 cans, 15 ounces of tuna for this recipe. Use as much as you like. We're a family of 5, and this feeds us just right. Just let that spaghetti, it's called we're going to let it kind of jump. You toss it, saltare, as it finishes cooking in there. You can let your spaghetti cook just about 30 seconds or so. That should do it. It'll warm it back up. It'll finish its cooking, and it's so good. It's a really great texture. It's not you don't want a soggy pasta. So this is a great texture when you cook it this way, when you let it finish cooking in the pan like this. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of this from the side. With a little bit of that oil. Get a little bit of salt and sprinkle that right on, because this is very much wanting salt, the tuna. Really recommend shredded or freshly grated Parmesan. Just completes the meal. Okay, let's take a look. And don't forget, down in the show notes below, there's a link to the printable recipe card for this recipe and all my other quick meal recipes, make sure you check that out. Or you can go right to lastminutecook.com to visit my website and see all my recipes and all my videos. If you like tuna at all, you will love this spaghetti dish. You just need to give it the patience of letting that tuna cook down. And like I said, just when you think it's done, give it a couple more minutes. And add the oil as it drinks it up. Throw on there some salt, some Parmesan, some capers, and oh, so good. Look at that. I would love to hear from you. Please give me a comment down below. Reach out, I'd love to comment back with you. And if you haven't done so, don't forget to subscribe. You've been watching The Last Minute Cook. Thanks so much for watching. Buon appetito. See, look at that. Here's your little trick. If it's hard to eat spaghetti, you just do it like this. You get a tiny little bit, lift it up, move it over to the side, give it a little twirl, and that little tiny bit you got just kind of grows. And that is how you eat it. Nice and easy. It's the little things that make eating more enjoyable, like not making a fool of yourself when you're trying to eat spaghetti, like on a date, or when you're like on a new date with an Italian guy. I've been through it. It's embarrassing. This is how you do it.